we move on to Tinykin?
Oh yes, please.
Oh,
yeah.
Go on.
Go on. No,
I was just going to say because I know obviously because I played the demo a couple of months back and I loved it and I've been telling people to play it. I don't know what you guys make of it. So
well, I mean, I'll say this to sort of set the tone of the conversation. The Game of the Year contender for sure, right?
Yeah,
100%.
Listen, if you're listening to this and you think, oh, they're talking about some indie game or whatever, don't turn off or skip forward because this is a genuine Game of the Year contender. I finished
Brilliant.
it. I know,
Amazing.
James, you finished it.
amazing.
How far in are you sure? Are you done?
No, I'm not done. I'm in the kitchen.
Okay. Don't worry about it. It keeps it up.
Cool.
It's Tinykin is and I've seen, I've read a few articles, a few bits and pieces since completing it, and a lot of people saying it's a sort of a Pikmin style game. Please don't listen to that.
But you know where that comes from, don't you? It's like because when you first started up, my initial thing was like, oh, it's Pikmin. Like it's like that.
It's because it starts you off with the guys that lift and carry things, right?
Right.
And
but let me just explain the difference.
Yeah.
Pikmin is a strategy game, and it's a sort of time management strategy game where you send a bunch of these little characters off to do various different jobs, and you hope it's kind of like playing with a toy train set, right? A really complicated toy train set where you're trying to get all these pieces to move in motion and not clash with each other, and for everything to work out. And if you do it right, then you do it really quickly and really efficiently, and no one dies, right? That's Pikmin. It's a strategy game. This is absolutely not that. The first game that came to mind when I played this was Psychonauts 2.
Yeah.
And not because it plays anything like Psychonauts, and I'll explain the differences later. It just has that very imaginative 3D platformer feel to it, right? It's got some interesting ideas. It's huge, right? This game is huge. But it's very much at the heart of it a 3D platformer game. And yeah, you're being followed about by loads of these little they are called Tinykins, right?
Yeah,
that's what they are.
Yeah,
these tiny little things follow you about, and they could do various different. They've all got various different abilities, and you collect them, and it lets you do bits and pieces. There are a few puzzle aspects to it, but it doesn't even really feel like a puzzle game for me. There's no combat in it, so that's what sets it aside from something like Psychonauts 2. For me, this game is very much a 3D platforming exploration game.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're plonked in the middle of a huge level, which is themed on a house. So you're a very small character being followed by very small bugs in a very large, bedroom or whatever it is, the room that you're in, a kitchen or whatever. And you are sent on your way, and it's incredible. It's so good.
There's just
Everything
something so
it does is good.
fluid about it. Like the example I keep sort of reaching for when I want to explain to people how enjoyable like the platforming is. When you start getting the green Tinykin who and it's like you can throw them and they form like a little ladder, and then you can climb up the ladder and you can get up to higher places, and you're like, okay, so I guess I have to because you can hold like the trigger and point where you want to throw them, and you're like, okay, so I guess I have to do that, so I've got to figure out where I want the ladder to be, and I've got to stop and pull the trigger and then go right, throw, and then climb up it. No, you just pull the right trigger and that just builds the tower beneath you.
And this is one of the things that I loved about this so much is basically because it's all contextual, isn't it? Like whatever the puzzle is, it automatically uses whatever the Tinykin is that you're supposed to use.
You don't have to switch between which one you want to select. Any of that shit.
If it's something that can explode, it will throw the red guys. If it's something that needs lifting, it will throw the purple guys.
Yeah.
But there's none of that you've got to press the left bumper or whatever to scroll through them or whatever.
It's so important that it got rid of that because it just makes everything everything you do in this game is a joy to do. And this game is full of examples like that, James, right? So you've got the whole, hey, you don't need to cycle through which Tinykin you want to use. It just does it, right? It also does the fact that, oh, look, there's an item there. You can just pick it up and they'll just carry it around behind you throughout the whole thing until you find out what it's for.
Yeah.
Whereas before it would have been, you could pick it up, but next time you use that type of bug or whatever, they'll drop it.
Drop it again.
And then later on you find, oh, that's where that was. I need to go back, pick that up. No, if you find a letter, for example, which are in all the things, you pick it up and they follow you around with it for the rest of the game if you have to. If you leave the room, all the Tinykin stay in that room. But you come back, they're still holding it for you. And then you can, when you find the place where you need to put that letter, that's when you can just like point your crosshair at it and throw it at that thing, and then you're done. It's stuff like that. It's so well thought out to take away all of the shit that you're used to in these games that you don't even really complain about because that's how these games are done, right? You don't really get frustrated with it. But in this game, it just says, no, we're just going to do away with all that frustration or backtracking or any of that stuff. And it just makes it such a joy to play in every aspect.
It's like there is backtracking, but it's like everywhere you go, you are opening up shortcuts to where you currently are.
Yeah,
constantly. And again, and it's like to the point that like for each level, you'll start out and you're like, fuck man, there's like all these high shelves and there's chairs and there's whatever bookcases and you're like, fuck man, this looks impossible. But by the end, it's like because you've gone through it manually and set up all these shortcuts, by the end you're like, it's like this fucking network in your head and you know where all these,
but then it gets to the point, I don't know, you're not there yet, but it gets to the point where you've got so many green Tinykin and you've got so many bubbles attached to you that you literally it really does feel like you're cheesing the game like, at one point. It's like, oh, I could just stand at the top of this bit and fly right the way over to the other ones.
Let all
the shortcuts down. Brilliant, that's me done.
You see, great. The other thing that I really loved about it as well was the fact that you don't have to like manage like how many of the things you've got. You know, like how many of the Tinykins or whatever you've got, because there's always enough. Like you can find more or whatever later on. So it's not like, you know, because that was one of the things. This is why this isn't Pikmin. You know, it's like with that, you always had to like carefully think, you know, how many have I got so that I can pick up this item. If I pick up this now, I've got to have to come back and like, you know, get it another time or something like that. You don't have to. It's just like. Just like, get whatever you can while you're there.
Yeah,
and it's fine.
Like the fact that it will often. So say there's like a box that needs exploding, and it takes 10 of the explodey guys to blow it up. When you get there, there'll be 3 or 4 of the explodey guys
around
nearby.
there.
It's never like just enough to just do it. So it's like you need to be a little bit prepared. But I've very rarely will you approach something and be like, oh great, I'm like one short now. I've got to fucking run around. Like that's happened like twice maybe.
It's like the ultimate experience, this game, of like not being irritating. Of just like of just not putting stupid obstacles in the way that are irritating. It's just
like
completely seamless.
Every nook and cranny there is something to pick up. Like if it's, even if it's just the pollen, which is like the sort of main collectible in the game. Like you feel like you're consistently rewarded for just being like, hang on, I think there's a little gap between those two books. Let's go. Like there's always
there's
something.
Plenty of pollen there. So that's the basic gameplay, right? So you are 3D platforming. The idea is that you've got a central hub. You play as a character who is this tiny like 2D image in a 3D environment. It sort of like it gave me sort of a Plucky Squire vibes, right, from that trailer. That was the first sort of visually. That's what came to mind. But anyway, so that's the basic premise is that you're going from various different rooms to gather things to create a spaceship to get out of the house, right, and see what the world is like outside the house. I think the other two massive things that this game does right is visuals. I think it looks stunning. I think the combination of the 2D characters in this 3D environment looks absolutely brilliant. Where it does let itself down is that there's some frame rate issues.
Oh really?
I don't know if you've noticed, but whenever you get near a towel,
I've not
the
noticed
fluffy
anything.
towels, it plummets. See, that's what makes me think that actually maybe it doesn't do that on the S, because you're playing on an S, right?
Yeah.
Right, you playing? James, did you have any frame rate issues?
Yes, I did.
Oh, you did?
Slight.
No, maybe I'm just not.
Very slight, like in certain levels.
It's slight, but it's noticeable. And what I noticed is that every time you get near a fluffy towel, that's what sort of causes the frame rate to go down. So that was a little bit frustrating, but I'm sure that'll get fixed and patched out as these games do, as these things do. But visually, absolutely stunning. I love it. I love the fact that you can stand on one side of the room and then see right the way across the whole thing. Yeah, you've even got some binoculars, and you can zoom in and check out the various different parts of the room that you might have missed.
And it highlights stuff you can
there.
interact with as well, doesn't it? Like, it's quite good at... Yeah, sort of when you glance across and be like, oh, hang on a minute, there's a fucking bottle of soap liquid there, and I can nudge that around. Let's go see what that's about. Like,
totally. There's that, and I think the music is, I've always got a soft spot for when it does a Banjo-Kazooie, where it's a central theme that adjusts. In one of the levels you fall inside a guitar, and all of a sudden the theme tune for that level turns into just an acoustic guitar. Solo, and you go, this is just perfect. Like, I love it when games do that. Like, it's so important to get that right, and they absolutely nail it.
But then this is because I've got two small complaints about this game.
Okay.
I've got one small complaint. I'm itching to find out if it's the same thing.
And the music was the one thing that I was less keen on with this game. Like,
You're kidding me? The music's incredible.
If you've been playing like one of the levels, it gets very repetitive. Like, if you've been playing something for a very long time, it's also.
Okay.
It starts to border on becoming this is getting a bit irritating now.
I'm not even close to that, and I'm putting a lot of time in this game. I'm not with you on that. But what was the other one?
Initially I found the controls got a bit took a bit of getting used to. The jump.
Really?
Yeah,
the jump can take a bit of getting used to for sure, especially the double jump, right?
Yes.
So it's not so much a double jump, but it's so you jump and glide, right? So a little bit like Breath of the Wild, you jump and then you hold down the button, you let go,
but you
hold
have to
down
do
the
it
button
really quickly.
You should be able to just
it's
hold
different,
it, right?
isn't it?
Like, it's,
because it feels like you should be able to have that double jump timing down.
Exactly,
but it's not that at all.
Yeah,
no,
you've literally got to double tap it as quick as you can to get the height that you need. But once you get that, you're fine, right?
Yeah.
I found perspective a little bit of a problem in some of the sort of harder platformy bits, where there's small platforms.
Yeah, because you do have like a drop shadow, right? Which is a pretty common, but because of the way the camera angle is, you often don't see that until the last second.
There's also the fact that actually the jump's quite quick.
Yeah.
Yes.
So even if you do see the shadow, you're only seeing it for like a split second. You don't really pick up on it.
And I do wonder, like we said, like, it's really accessible in the sense of like you put down shortcuts everywhere. From that. Well, part of that does feel a bit because it's quite easy to make mistakes.
No. I think it is down to the size of the fucking thing.
Yeah.
Like, they know that you don't want to climb up this thing piece by piece anymore. Here's a massive bit of string that leads down. Which I love, actually, because the amount of times that I've fallen down and I thought, I should have just let myself die, because you don't die in this game. You just go back to where you fell from. But the amount of times I've instinctively tried to save him by putting the bubble just as he's about to hit the ground, and then thought, now I've got to walk all the way back up there. But actually, I've released 9 times out of 10, I've released a shortcut. Yeah. No, the one complaint that I had, James, was that the end game stuff is actually quite irritating to get from level to level. And also because of the size of the maps, when you're looking for those last, 50 pollen or whatever, it's like I'm not even finding it enjoyable. Like, I wish there were options within the goggles to say, no, actually highlight the stuff that I need to polish off this level.
Just like there's some stuff over there, that kind of thing.
Have a look over here. There's one of the envelopes are over here, or some sort of indication. And also, I hate, because this was a big complaint that I had with Psychonauts 2. I know all the levels are linked, right? So you can get from one level to another by walking through a crack of a door. Okay, just let me open up a menu and say, put me in that level, please. Because that's cool, the way that it's all linked. But when you get to the end of the game, I want to go to that level. I want to get those bits, and I want to polish this off, and I want 100% it.
See, maybe that's... See, I didn't really have that experience because I played it maybe a bit differently, because I just 100%ed each level before I moved on.
As you went through,
so then that didn't bother me. Like, I was just like, okay, I'm completely done with this anyway, so I'm never going to go back there. I
want to go back and do that stuff. And I'm finding that it quite tedious to do, which is such a shame, because it gets everything else right. And even the story... James, I don't know what you made of the ending and stuff.
It wasn't what I was expecting. So let's talk
around this. So the ending you weren't expecting, but did you not find the thing that spells it out for you way before the ending?
No, I don't think so.
There's a little area that you can discover, which I initially thought was a joke, like an Easter egg, but then it turns out to be the ending.
Oh, hang on.
Wow. Okay.
Is that an area that's like in a level that you go, and it's like you go behind a door?
And the music changes.
Yes,
quite dramatically.
yes, I remember that. Yeah,
that's the ending.
Right.
You didn't work that out?
No, I didn't. No, I'm stupid. But
so you got the how do we say it? The achievement, the title of the achievement is a reference to a film. You didn't pick up on that?
I saw that, but no, I didn't pick that up. No.
Okay, right, okay.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. It's so good, and it's so well done and funny, and not what I expected at all.
I think what also is cool is that like if you want to, like, there's loads of dialogue, there's loads of characters to talk to, all all got little lines for you and stuff, but it's all completely optional. There's no like. It's not constantly going like, oh, and now that you've done this, you must go and get this or do this. It's like pretty much every level. It's like, we're here for this one item. Off you go. Like there will be different stages to it, to like getting the thing you need. There'll be other things you have to tick off. But unless you go out of your way to talk to the characters, you can just explore and be like, here's stuff I can interact with, and you probably muddle your way through anyway. Like it's not essential to talk to everyone.
And that's the other thing I loved about it, was like going into a level and just being like, I'm just going to work it out for myself. Yeah. Like all the side quests and all that kind of stuff, which there are, like in this. I was just like, I'm just going to stumble across them and figure them out as I go along. I don't need to talk to people with it.
You start in a level and you say, I can go in any direction and go to and do whatever I want, and I'm progressing.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what I'm doing. I'm progressing in some way. It could be blowing up, they're just random boxes and you're blowing them up, and then you later find out, oh no, that's a route that you need for that to go through. But you've done it, so there you go. It just,
I know, because it's like it'll be that'll be useful later, all the time, and it's
exactly. Here's what's amazing. Obviously, there's a concept for a game here. There's an idea for a game and what they wanted to do. And they've nailed every aspect of it and made it as enjoyable to play as humanly possible. Because, once you get used to the movement stuff, James, it's just a joy to just fly about in and jump about in. That little there's a thing where you hold down the right bumper and he gets a bar of soap out and he surfs around the place. It just makes getting places a little bit quicker.
Because did you notice as well that
you can do tricks?
Obviously you can. There's those like silk lines, and you can grind on those. But did you notice you can grind on like edges as well?
Yeah. And you can do like little tricks as well.
That's amazing.
Spin around and stuff.
Yeah. No, there's there's little bonus levels within it as well. There's like the one with the every time you're trying to find a diamond is like a little bonus special level that you can do. Some of those are gated by how many bubbles that you've got and stuff. The bubbles being the gliding mechanic. The more bubbles you get, the longer you can glide for. I'm absolutely blown away, and it has gone right near the top of my list for Game of the Year this year. It's amazing that people... this is a terrible thing to say because each to their own, right? But I'm absolutely blown away that I've seen this much chatter about Immortality and barely any chatter about Tinykin, which is genuinely one of the best games of the year in my opinion.
Did they come out on the same day?
It was around that, wasn't
I think they might have been the same
week.
I guess it's got swallowed up, didn't it, from that? Cause...
I guess so. And
as you say, because Tinykin is just next level. It's so good.
Yeah, sort of thematically... Not ambitious or anything, but in terms of design, it is an absolute masterclass. It's phenomenal. The fact
friction.
that obviously Isaac plays games. New does not categorically play games. Isaac will struggle. He's been playing like Mario Odyssey and stuff, and every 2 minutes, Dad, can you do this bit for me? Dad, can you do this? I can't do this. He's now taken in 3D world. He now just every time he starts a level, he just kills himself repeatedly until he gets the silver Tanuki suit. Smart kid.
Work smarter, not harder.
Yeah. This, he loves it, and he can just do it. And Nu started playing it with him as well. And it's like the first time I've seen her enjoy a game in years. and she's
awesome.
just taken
That's
to
really
it
good.
really, really quickly. Like, and again, that's a testament to how few barriers there are to your enjoyment with it. You know,
This is their second game.
what was the first one?
I can't remember what were they called. Oh my god!
Sorry,
I did look it up today, but it's gone from my Splash Team. They're called. Their first game was called something like Splasher in 2017. I don't know. It come out on PS4 apparently. But yeah, the second game, Tinykin, and it is an absolute peach of a video game. Don't sleep on this. I think it's out on everything, isn't it?
it is.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's out on
Switch
everything.
version.
we've played it
It's
on
about
Game
to be
Pass.
Yeah, we are playing on
Amazing to see
Xbox,
what the Switch version looks like.
Yeah.
But it's out on PS5. It's on Game Pass. If you like 3D platforming, then this is essential. Like, it's absolutely essential, and you will not be disappointed. I'm really confident in saying that you won't be disappointed. It's such a good game.
I definitely want to play this. I've heard lots of people talk about it. We haven't been playing other things this week, but it's downloaded, ready to go, because it looked amazing just an initial announcement. So. Yeah, is it a long game? You say it's massive in terms of kind of size of locations, but
8 to 9 hours,
Oh, okay.
I'd say. Would you say about that right, James?
Yeah, that's about how much I put into it, I think.
James put nearly 10 hours into it yesterday.
Yeah, seriously.
Wow.
I mean, I was sitting there playing it with Asher as well, because he was loving it.
10 hours.
It's like, it's crazy.
Cool.
It is,
But it is that thing of like, I kept on getting into like a new level, and I was just like, I'll just have a look around, and just like see what this one's like. And then you're just like, no, I'm gonna.
An hour later,
Yeah.
It's 10 hours. I feel it could be 10 hours more. Like, honestly, I felt that I could have done another 4 or 5 levels of this and not gone bored, even if they didn't introduce any new Tinykin, because there's a couple of Tinykin in it that are a little bit like the electricity ones. They're a little bit like, okay,
they're just very specific, aren't they, in what they do,
well,
and it's not really fun to use as such.
But where do you go with that idea?
Yeah.
And where they go with it is, well, there's just further away, so you need more of them. And it's kind of like, okay, but it's not.
And you need
everything
to be
else
sort
is
of
so
careful.
fun to do.
Yeah, you need to be careful with how sort of like the spacing of them and stuff. But that's a bit fiddly. The bridge guys are okay.
The bridge guys are kind of I thought they were shit at the start, but then they're essential for other parts of the game. So you need to do them. But I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Tinykin is honestly one of my favourite games that I played this year. And please, if you're into this sort of game, just play it, because it's so good.
I did. I noticed
so good.
Darren Garget's been caning this as well, and I was like, yes, mate, this is a Darren Garget game through and through.
Is it?
Do you not think? Because it gives me sort of N64 platformer vibes.
Yeah,
There's a bit of that.
Reading on Rollmark, they were like comparing it to like Banjo-Tooie, like saying that there is some better.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I've played a bit of Banjo-Tooie this year. That is not a good game. I can't remember last time I played a game where it just succeeds in everything it tries. It's like it absolutely nails it.
It's the definition of being greater than the sum of its parts, right? There's like on paper, there's very little remarkable about it, and yet put all together, it's like I cannot believe what a good time I'm having playing this game. Like, yeah, it's great.
I just can't believe how good it looks. Like, because visually the 3D stuff is not special.
Yeah,
it doesn't do anything
super
amazing.
detailed or anything. It's just.
But it's when you see all those 2D characters like all in that scene at the same time running around, you're just like, oh my god, this.
And it's the
this.
attention to detail in terms of like how the characters have taken items from the house and built their little, everyone's using like little matchboxes for beds and stuff.
When you find the little hot village,
yeah, man,
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
I love it. Tinykin,
Tinykin,
definitely play it.